I forget how much of like a melting pot like the Cape League is.
Yeah, we have kids from everywhere. It's hard to keep track. It's such a rotating door. I'll turn around in the dugout and there's a new kid. And I'm like, oh, hey, nice to meet you. There's so many.
I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, happy you're here. What's your name? Writing this down.
Hello, and welcome to Runnah, running on Cape Cod, Massachusetts and beyond, and welcome back to your favorite local running community. I'm Juliana, your host, and this week we have Maddy Kefferstan, whose name I think I pronounced correctly.
Got it.
Yes, who is the athletic trainer for the Falmouth Commodores, which is our local Cape League team here in Falmouth, which is very exciting. You guys are in full swing right now in the middle of the summer.
Yes, we are. Yep, we're about maybe 28 games deep of our 40-game season, and then we go right into playoffs after that.
So almost exactly halfway through.
Yeah, right about. Kids are definitely feeling it. They're pretty tired out there.
How are we doing, like, points-wise?
Depends on the day, honestly. Since we play so often, our record and the team, like the whole league, changes so often. So we were in first place maybe about 10 days ago. I think we've taken a bit of a dip down to fourth out of fifth in our region right now, but I think we're down maybe 2 games from first place, so hopefully we can make a bit of a comeback there.
Okay, and I'm sure there's going to be another game like very soon, if not tonight.
Got one tonight, 6 o'clock.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Usually it's like Wednesdays and Fridays, correct?
We play 6 days a week, but we're home.
Oh, really?
We're home normally 3-ish of those days, so we're home this Friday and Saturday, and then we're somewhere else after that.
It's a lot of baseball.
It is certainly a lot of baseball.
Yeah, but before we get into more like kind of like baseball, sports, general talk, let's talk about any running history that you have, Maddy, because you're here because you are part of the community, and also to talk about like athletic kind of psychology things, which is applicable to like anyone who's doing any kind of sport. But do you have a running history, and what could it be?
So my running history, I'd say, is pretty scarce. I don't often run unless I'm being forced to. So I played sports in high school, had to run for those. I played softball in college, had to run a little bit for that. But once I have been retired for a few years now, I'm not often out there running. But I do, enjoy watching other people run, and then I work at the Boston Marathon usually every year, so I really enjoy the sport, but not from my own perspective.
Do you think after watching the Boston Marathon finish line, and we talked about it briefly, you get a wide like rainbow of humans crossing the finish line in a wide rainbow of states of mind and being. I've crossed it both times, both in completely different states of being, and do you think maybe you want to do something like that at some point? Or have you seen enough people like really just get pulled into the med tent?
The med tent is a pretty popular place at the Boston Marathon finish line, I would say. I think maybe eventually in my life I wouldn't mind running Boston, just to say that I did, because it is such a hometown thing for me. But at this point, I have my eyes on a half marathon down in Hilton Head that my friends are very convinced that we can all complete. I'm not as convinced. I might opt for the 10K, but that is the goal. I think it's in either October or November. That's the overarching goal to get there.
Okay. Definitely if you start running now, you can get to a half marathon at that time frame.
Hope so.
Hopefully. Usually a lot of those races too will let you switch down to like down to the shorter distance, like last minute if something happens.
That sounds perfect. That sounds like my kind of race.
Yeah, I've had to do that a couple of times because of like injury or whatever it is. So it is usually an option, especially if there is like a shorter race offered. But not a huge extensive running history, maybe to come at some point in time.
Maybe.
But you do have a pretty long history of like sports psychology and like training and things like that. Why don't you talk about like your history with that and kind of your education that you have in psychology and also like training?
Sure, yeah. So I've been an athletic trainer coming up on 5 years now. I went to the University of New Hampshire for undergrad and got my athletic training degree there. Then I took a bit of a gap year and just kind of worked around the community. And then after that, I went to the University of South Carolina, got my advanced degree in athletic training. I stuck around there to work with the beach volleyball team for a few years.
Oh, and now,
fun. Yeah, it was really fun. Now I'm pursuing a degree in behavioral and mental health in athletics, again with the University of South Carolina. And I just switched teams, so I'm working swim and dive there now full time.
Oh. Do you have a certain sport that kind of like sparks your fancy the most and you would really, like if you had a dream sport to work with, what would it be?
Honestly, my time with beach volleyball was like the most exciting and rewarding 2 years of my life. So when I can find my way back there, that's probably the goal.
Okay. I don't know if we have any beach volleyball. I mean, it makes sense that we would up here in the Massachusetts kind of like Cape Cod area.
Yeah, Massachusetts hasn't quite picked up the beach volleyball game yet.
Okay.
I think, give it maybe 20 years and we'll get a club or two. But it's real hard to, play it year round up here.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's more so down south, kind of Texas, Florida, California are the big hubs right now. But it is a super up and coming sport in the NCAA.
Yeah, I was just thinking because I was like, we're right near the beach, but that's true. It gets very cold.
Yeah, in the summer, beach volleyball is great, but otherwise not so much.
Yeah. So you worked with a bunch of different teams, and like, what are the things you're typically working on with your people, with your teams, with your kids and athletes?
Yeah, so it super depends on what team you're working with and kind of what point in the season. So as an athletic trainer, I'm kind of there to support them through any type of physical, emotional, any type of anything, injury, illness, just kind of, I'm that person for them. So they'll come to me with whatever's going on. So generally it's a lot of, sprains and strains and, wound care, stuff like that, or overarching injuries. Someone might get surgery for a shoulder injury and then I'm there from the start to finish of that. Or if you have, let's say, like for runners, generally we see a lot of stress fractures in their legs or along that line. So that recovery takes, quite some time and a lot of rehab, a lot of time off, a lot of doctor's appointments. So I haven't worked track personally, but I work in the same facility as them, so I see them manage a lot of stress fractures and injuries like that.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's a lot of like mental barriers that you're working on with your athletes as well, too.
Yeah, absolutely. There's always, being a college athlete, it's difficult.
It's
you
hard.
have a whole lot going on in your academic life, your social life, your athletic life. It's a lot to balance for anybody, but especially at such a high level. Mental health, I think, is, of the utmost importance, even more so or equally so as physical health. So I like to focus on that a lot in my practice.
Yeah. Now, do you have someone who's like a sports psychologist for your teams that you work with, or are you like the sole proprietor of all these things?
Thankfully, I have a lot of help down at the University of South Carolina. I'm more so just like the beginning of that process, where I can like refer out to people that can help so much more than I can. So we have sports psychologists on staff and then other mental health providers that we all have access to.
Now, with the Commodores, is it just you when it comes to the like mental and physical aspect of the training, or is there a whole team behind that? Because right now for the summer, and this is not your first summer working with them, correct?
This actually is my first summer working down in Falmouth. Yep.
Oh, well, welcome.
Surprise. Thank you.
Very exciting. So what is the kind of like setup there? Because obviously here on the Cape, the Cape League Baseball League, whatever, the Cape Baseball League is a really big deal. And we have a like notorious reputation of picking the next like top like drafts for the MLB, yeah. Yep. I know sports.
Yep, you're doing great.
And there's just a lot of like pomp and circumstance around it, and it's kind of a big deal.
Very much, yeah. So in terms of the physical day-to-day stuff, that's always me. When someone needs some type of treatment before the game to be feeling the best that they can, or they slide into second base, they scratch up their knee, they need to be tended to very quickly. When it's on-field stuff, that is always me.
Okay.
But we do have access to kind of a network of physicians throughout the Cape Cod League. So we have a physician that's specific to Falmouth. It's Dr. Don O'Malley. So he comes
Dr. O'Malley.
Yeah, he comes to a lot of our games, and he's always there to support us. So like if I see something and I'm super worried about it, or I'm not sure what's going on, or I know that an athlete's going to need to see a doctor, then I can be like, hey, Dr. O'Malley, what are you doing tomorrow? Got something for you. So we have access to physicians throughout the Cape, as well as like we have emergency resources more so for mental health type stuff. We don't have like a team psychologists or things like that, but like there are emergent resources that we can access.
Okay, but if anyone's really needing anything, you're kind of, again, working that triage position where you're like, okay, if I can help this person myself, I'm going to do it, but if not, like, we have the resources.
Yeah, it's definitely, especially just because I'm there every minute, day in, day out, it's kind of, I'm like the first step to anything more important, so it normally starts with me, and then once it gets a little bit above my pay grade, then we get to the important people after that.
Now, how did you find or get involved with the Commodores?
Weirdly enough, I saw a post on Facebook, and I almost thought that it was fake. But
I've come across those before.
It just seemed, it was so casual. It was like, hey, send your resume to this email, and we'll give you a call. And I was like, oh, I've always loved the Cape Cod Baseball League. I'm from Andover, Mass., so not too far away. And I was in South Carolina at the time, but I knew that this summer I was going to have to find something. So I was like, I'll send my resume out, see what happens. And then the next day I got a phone call that was like, your resume is awesome. Where do you want to go? Like, what teams do you like? And I wasn't familiar enough to have an answer, and I just kind of was like, this is great. This is the easiest job interview I've ever had. Wherever you want to put me works. And then I ended up with the Falmouth Commodores after that.
Nice. And when you're working with the baseball team specifically, what are some like common challenges that you're seeing these guys come across? Because it's a very unique like group of humans. These are like almost sub-elite baseball players. They're like the step right below like the highest level of baseball, essentially.
I think in terms of just like game struggles, I think it is kind of difficult that they all do come from different universities and backgrounds in like how the game should be played and strategy and stuff like that. Because I think we carry about 30 guys on the roster, and they're probably representing, 20 or so different universities. So everyone has a different mindset behind training and fueling and how many pitches and what's the call on this and what's the call on that.
This sounds like a lot to manage.
It has hurt my brain quite a few times. So I think just trying to get on the same page, the players being on the same page all the time, the coaching staff and me and everyone, that has been a little bit difficult, but it is also so rewarding and just unique and cool to be like, oh, you guys do it like this? I never thought about that. I'll try this or do this. Like, there's a lot of learning opportunities for the players to learn from each other.
Yeah. Do you feel like they're generally receptive to the other people on the team? Or is there like, these are college guys too. Like, we understand that these are not like the most agreeable humans sometimes.
Surprisingly, I think that they are, because a lot of them, like, their dream is just to get to the MLB. So any information that they can synthesize from a coach or from a different player, they're like, I'm going to keep that in my back pocket. It might not work for me, but I'm going to give it a try. I think we see that a lot with our pitchers. Like, they always have a baseball in their hand, and they're looking at their grip if it's a little bit this way or a little bit that way, or they're throwing a cutter different. And not that I understand what any of that means, but they seem to be very enthused by it.
I have not a clue in the world. I'm just like, I could hold a baseball, but I'm definitely not holding it correctly for anything. Yeah. Now, from like the mental side of things, like, what are things that you typically work on with the guys? Like, if you were gonna like set up a program, I'm assuming there's like a little bit of structure to like working with these guys, and like
a little bit
some high points you'd like to hit during the season. What are our goals for the season, and what are some of like the high points you want to hit with your team?
Goals and high points. I think this position is unique. Like, again, how they're all learning from each other. Like, they all have athletic trainers at their universities. So I try to play off of like what their athletic trainers are doing and thinking about, and stuff that they're used to. Like, I often, like, my first question is like, have you ever experienced this before? Like, what do you do at school for this? Because I try to stick with what their athletic trainers kind of have been doing, because athletic training is more of like an art form than it is a science. There's about a million different ways to accomplish the same thing. So when it comes to like mental health, or just, when they're in a slump and they need something, like, I'll kind of try to read this situation and scenario and be like, do they want outward support right now, or do they need a minute? And a lot of times I've noticed with baseball players, like, they just need a minute. They need a minute to sit there and be like, okay, I'm going to get it next time. And I'll just kind of try to offer that support, like, I see you, I understand what you're going through, I'm here if you need me. So I'll kind of hang back, and normally it's like a pat on the back or like a handshake that lingers a little bit, just like, hey, I got you. Like, I'm here if you need me. More so things like that. And in terms of like high points, I think everyone, just wants to make like one big play. I feel like in the Cape League, there's so much going on. There's so much change and this and that. And the records are all so close and random and sporadic. So I think a lot of them, like, not like a highlight reel, but like they just want one thing that they're like, I did this in the Cape League. I made this play. I hit this home run. I pitched this many innings. Like, just one stat that they can kind of hold on to and be like, I made it. I did it here.
Yeah. It sounds like to me you're largely meeting these players where they are.
Try to. That's the goal. I think, especially this, just being here for the summer, we all leave and go other places and do other things. It's just really meeting them where they are and then supporting them best from that point.
Yeah. A lot of the times that's really all you can do, especially, again, like you're only with them for a short amount of time. What are some challenges that you found just like having to work with a kind of diverse population when it comes to their training, where they're from? Like, these people are from all over the country. And there's not only just like training difference, but cultural differences and like maybe some like accent differences too. If you get someone who's from like the deep south, like sometimes it feels like they're from a different planet.
Oh yeah.
And you cannot understand sometimes.
I thought that I had really mastered the deep south accent. I thought, I'd been in South Carolina long enough. I'd heard some things. I'd figured it out.
Did you get someone from like Louisiana, like deep Louisiana?
I mean, I met this kid from Alabama, and I was trying to read his lips even, and I was like, I just don't know what he's saying. I was like, I know he's saying ma'am after everything he says, which is, so respectful. I'm only 26. I didn't think I deserved a ma'am, but hey. But yeah, I couldn't understand a word the kid was saying half the time. Sweet kid, but I was like, okay, say it one more time, just a little bit slower. I'd say, like, differences culturally, I think a lot of the kids from the South have found that Massachusetts is, overwhelmingly Democratic. Which is fair. Maybe, a little bit odd for some of them, but I think they're all, taking it in stride and having fun here for the summer, which is good to see. And then other differences.
Or like challenges you've seen the kids kind of come across.
I think more so than I thought, a lot of them are getting really homesick. Which, I don't know, I've worked with women's athletics for so long. I feel like my thought process of like boys athletics was, like summer, boys club, they're gonna, do this and do that and have so much fun. And we had a couple kids leave because, they just wanted to go home. And it was kind of like heartwarming and heartbreaking at the same time. I was like, you're this 21, 22-year-old kid that, is 6 foot tall and, you still just want to go home and spend time with your family. I thought that was a challenge I didn't see us having, when our roster's changing so much. I'm like, oh, we lost 4 kids today, and it was, because they just wanted to go home. Yeah,
they're just kind of homesick. I feel like that's understandable too, especially like, anyone can be homesick, but that's probably like when they're here, this is probably the only time they really have during the school year to spend time with their family because they're at school the rest of the year.
Yeah, their training schedules are absolutely insane, as is, most Division I athlete, but I feel like baseball really just is like a year-round job for them. So the Cape League is so amazing and like just such an honor to be invited. Like, of course you're going to go. Like, it's the Cape League.
Yeah.
But it does mean that they don't get to spend that time with their families because the second they get back to school, they hit the ground running.
They're gone. They're out of there already, and they're already training for whatever the next thing is on their docket.
For sure.
Yeah. So it sounds like overall it's kind of challenging. Just in general to be like performing at that level.
Yeah.
And then be away from home and all these other things too. And it sounds like what you're doing is like very much so needed.
Yeah, I think like I try to make good relationships with all my athletes and all my players. They know they have a support system wherever they are. And I do think, especially here when you're away from home and away from your support system at school, that it's nice to know you just have at least one person on your side.
Yeah. Do you guys do like team bonding things, like sleepover nights or like pizza nights or something?
I think we spend so much time together. There's almost no time for team bonding. But I will say our head coach, Jared Saltalamacchia, asked if we all wanted to go skydiving on Monday. And I've never liked a message so fast. I really want to go skydiving.
I would go skydiving.
I hope we commit to it because he was like, I'm paying. I'm like, oof. Sold.
If someone taps out, you can tap me in. I'll go skydiving.
I mean, I'm very prepared if that's our off day activity. I'm excited for it.
That's on my bucket list. I just haven't like gotten that far yet, but definitely that would be a lot of fun.
It's on mine, absolutely. Especially because they tie you to someone else, so you don't have to really decide to jump out of the plane. Because I know I'd get cold feet. And most of the guys were saying they would too, and I was like, well, someone pushes you, so if you get on the plane, you're getting off.
Well, it's like, what do you think your other options are?
Yeah, you can't go back down.
It's kind of just like, we're up here already. I also imagine too, like if I was gonna go skydiving with all those guys too, I would probably be the first one jumping off the plane. They would all be like, oh, and I'd be like, oh my god,
yeah, gotta go.
Bye. Because a lot of times, like those guys are just like big softies.
They really are. I was honestly a bit intimidated, just to be like, oh my god, I'm working with all these like big time baseball players.
And generally speaking, probably tall humans too.
Oh, extremely tall, like at least a foot taller than me most times.
Yeah.
And I was intimidated, and I was like, oh god, I hope I can handle it. I hope I can do it.
Yeah.
And then you meet all of them, and you realize like they're just kids. On TV they're these superstars, and they are superstars, and they're amazing. But when you actually talk to them, like they're sweet, they're genuine people. They're always happy to sign autographs and all that stuff.
They're humans too.
They are.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing to remember. Like not only with like baseball players, but just like in general with anyone who's like an elite athlete or like a celebrity in any capacity.
Yeah.
But I think this podcast would not be complete though if we did not talk about the running prowess, shall we say, of the Commodores this season. I've been told by inside sources that are running this season could leave things to be desired potentially.
Yeah, I think that is true. Anytime there's some running involved, you will hear an audible groan from the dugout. We're not a running team all that much. We do add it into our repertoire, especially at the beginning of the season when we had more practice time. They were doing a lot of base running drills and stuff like that. And the pitchers, I know, probably run more than anybody else because on days when they want to do something but they don't want to tire their arm out or they don't specifically want to lift a certain muscle group, like they'll just go on a long run to kind of keep their cardio going and things like that. But yeah, running is it's not the Commodores' favorite thing. And base path wise, we're okay. We've been thrown out a few times. We're speedy enough, but yeah, it's not our strong suit.
Do you ever have any, well, actually not ever, but do you have anyone this year who's running the road race?
I don't know. I don't believe that anybody is. I think some of our interns were maybe talking about it.
Okay.
But I think a majority of the baseball players, like their report date for school is pretty much like the day after when the championship here would be. It's like the 15th, 16th, something like that.
Oh, okay,
so the road race is maybe the 19th or something.
No, it's that same
the
Sunday.
same Sunday, yeah. So I think
you guys probably can't even do it then.
Yeah, I think a lot of them will be headed back home at that point, but cheering from afar.
Because I feel like that would be like a really like unique Falmouth experience to be able to like come and be on the Commodores and then like maybe experience a bunch of the stuff that's happening during the summer and then get to like top it off with the road race.
Honestly, if the timing was different, I'm sure that would have been like a great community outreach event for us because we try to like get out into the community and like let the players like be places that are in public so people can come say hello and whatever. And I feel like the road race would have been like a perfect opportunity. So maybe we'll connect on dates next time and get that set up.
Yeah. Let's just briefly talk about like the community outreach side of the Commodores too, because I know I've been around town and I've seen like the athletes like volunteering or like signing autographs or just kind of like being present, largely with like the autograph things, like the kids and stuff too, which is really cute. Do you want to talk on like the way that either like you are or the Commodores in general are involved with the community? Because that's a really big part of what happens.
For sure. So the Commodores, we try to get out into the community. It's usually at least like once a week, a little bit more often at the beginning of the season, and then it kind of tapers out near the end. But try to get out into the community and like do stuff with our sponsors. And then just to let the players like be out there and be visible to the community. So I know we've done stuff. Trying to think with
I saw a thing at Cape Cod 5 the other day.
Yes, I was trying to think of the name. So we had some players go out to Cape Cod 5 because they're one of our bigger sponsors, and then just other places in the community like restaurants. We do a lot of things at local churches just to like I feel like the Falmouth community like loves like seeing the players, and you can't always make it to a game. And like our mornings generally are pretty light. Like there might be some treatment or some other things going on, but for the most part, it's kind of beach and relax for the guys. Yeah. So they go out into the community and just try to say hi and be a presence. And like, you know, it's so cool that Falmouth does so many things that they do for us, like the host families and donations and things like that. So like the least we could do is like be part of that community while we're here. Yeah. So I think it's really fun to see the boys out there, and like the way that kids look at them is just like, it is so heartwarming. I mean, the kids are so excited. Like they might not know who a player is, but like they're a Commodore. And it's so cool to them. And I think that's one of the great parts about the Cape League is it doesn't matter where those kids play throughout the year. It's just like, you know, they're here for the summer like that. You know, I'm not, but like for the kids, like if you're from Falmouth, like that's your guy. Like that he plays for your town. You know, so I think it's really cool for the kids to see.
Yeah, the Falmouth community is very robust and like really likes when the other parts of the community are involved with the other parts of the community. So it's really nice to see the guys just kind of out there like doing things and being part of the community too.
Yeah, absolutely. And from like my perspective, so all 10 teams on the Cape League, everyone has an athletic trainer. So I try to stay connected with the other 10 teams and then like those other 10 communities. So a lot of times like we always talk pre and post game, you know, how's your team doing? How's this going? Like, hey, you know, we ended early tonight. What restaurant should I go to? Because it's nice to be able to go somewhere and kind of have like a bit of a friendship with someone in that town where you're like, okay, like, you know it here. Where should we go for dinner? Where should we do this? What beach should I go to before the game? So actually, 2 of the athletic trainers are friends of mine. One of them I went to undergrad with, and one of them I graduated grad school with. So when I go to those specific towns, it's like you know, it's crazy to me. I'm like, wow, we all started in such different places, and here we are. Here we are. Cape Cod summer, you know, the best place to be.
Did you let them know about the opportunity after you figured it, or did they find this on their own?
We all kind of found it on our own timeline, which I think is
interesting.
Crazy. The athletic trainer for Yarmouth Dennis, her name is Nadia. I went to undergrad with her, and she's worked in the Cape League for either 4 or 5 years now.
Okay.
And then the athletic trainer for the Brewster Whitecaps, his name is Jack, and he graduated a year behind me in grad school. And I actually didn't even know that we were both coming to the Cape League until I got an email. And I saw his email on it.
You're like, oh,
Jack, what's up? What's going on? And then we ended up seeing each other down here, and it was cool.
That's so funny. It is such a small world once you're in like a very concentrated part of your field. It's just like, oh yeah, there's only like so many of us, and
seriously, yeah, and everybody knows everyone, or you know someone that knows someone. Especially with all the players being from different schools. We actually we got a new player. And I noticed that his backpack said USC, and I was like, hey, why don't I know you? Like, where'd you come from? And he was like, oh, I played there, you know, 2 years ago. And then we ended up talking to the USC athletic trainer that's a friend of mine and a friend of his. And it was just, it's cool how things connect like that, especially in a smaller type community.
Yeah, and Falmouth is like notorious for being like a small, like tight-knit community as well too, which is great. And we're more than happy to have the Commodores as part of it.
Yeah, no, it's been a super fun summer. I love wearing my Falmouth Commodores merch out because someone is always like, hey, and I'm like, yeah, I work there, you know, and it's a cool conversation starter.
Yeah, I'm sure this is the time of year we start seeing all the hats and everything walking around town and everything. So it's just nice.
For sure.
It's just a nice addition to the town. And definitely is great that they have you to be a support when it comes to like mental and physical health because, again, very much so needed.
Yeah, no, I love my job. Like everywhere I've worked, I've always fallen in love with it. So getting used to being down here and was so different than South Carolina. It took me a week or two, but you know, I've really enjoyed my time here. I really love it.
What was like the hardest thing to like get used to? Like
our first game was so cold. It was like 60 degrees, and it shouldn't have been that cold. But I've been in South Carolina.
I was like, what? When was the first game?
I know it shouldn't have been that cold, but I'd been in South Carolina for such a long time that I was freezing, and I was embarrassed too because I'm like, I'm from Massachusetts. Like 60 degrees is not cold.
I'm sure everyone else was wearing shorts.
Yeah, everyone else was just having a great night, and I'm sitting there shivering.
That's like shorts and t-shirt and maybe a sweatshirt in the back throw over weather.
Literally, I was embarrassed sitting there shivering, but I muscled through. We made it. I think we won, so it was worth it.
I will say the Cape weather hits a little bit differently because there's always a breeze.
Yeah, the breeze was what was getting me, and it was foggy too, which I don't know.
Which can also really tip it in the other direction.
Yeah, we had a game actually get canceled for fog, which is like, I'd never seen that one before. It was the weirdest thing ever.
Oh, yeah.
The fog just descended out of nowhere, and like I forget who it was, maybe our center fielder. He's like waving to us, and we're like, can't see him. And he's trying to tell us he can't see the ball. And we're like, oh, yep, that's the game.
Yeah, we're so close, especially where you guys are at a Glove Fuller field. Like, you're so close to the ocean that we get the raw, unfiltered weather, like right here, where it's just like, it's very funny to me, having lived down here for like 8 years now. I can see the weather like coming. Like, there's like clearly like a wall of fog or a wall of rain because it's like unadulterated because it hasn't hit the land properly yet. And so it just like comes in a straight line. And you're like, I guess there is rain coming right now.
We're like, in an hour, we're not going to be able to play baseball.
Yeah, you can physically see like the wall coming towards you, whatever the weather is, whether it's like the clearing of clouds, whether it's rain, whether it's fog. It's just like,
Yeah, we've managed to get pretty lucky weather-wise. We haven't had anything rained out just yet, knock on wood, of course. We had that one game get canceled in like the 5th inning for fog, but other than that, all of our off days have remained off days, which I think are super necessary for rest and recovery.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's exciting. And so you guys are playing. When is the day of the playoffs? It's the same weekend as the road race, which is like the 16th and the 17th.
So our regular season ends on August 3rd, and then August 4th is a league-wide off day. Okay. So we have 2 different divisions, East and West, and each has 5 teams. Okay. So if you're not the last team in the league, then you go to playoffs. So 8 out of the 10 teams go, and you play 3 games. It's like the 5th, 6th, and 7th. You'll play 3 games, and it's a best out of 3 series. So then if you win that, you move on. Best out of 3 series, win that, move on. Then that's the championship weekend. Okay. So that's that like 15th or whatever we were saying.
That makes sense timeline-wise now, how you get from that date to that date.
Yeah, so there's like 3 games off day, 3 games off day, kind of in a rotating kind of schedule like that. But if you lose, then obviously you're out. Yeah. So not sure how long we will make it. Hopefully to that 15th. I think we certainly have the capability to get there.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it's a pretty solid, like, back and forth between all the teams, though, so.
Yeah, it really changes right after, like, All-Star Weekend, because a bunch of people get drafted, and then a bunch of people leave, and the whole roster kind of changes, so I think the whole, like, Cape Cod Baseball League is still shaking a little bit. We're trying to figure out all the new people coming in.
Interesting. That's definitely an interesting switch up in the way the game is played, I'm sure.
It is a weird rotating door because you have, the kids that have been here all season that are, tired and they're dealing with like overuse injury type stuff, and we're trying to ramp them down in terms of like practice load and things like that. And then the new kids that get here that are fresh and ready to go and ready to play. So you have like those 2 different groups of people where you're like, we're all on the same team, but like you could run 10 miles today and you should sit down. You know? So it's different, load and range of kids that you're trying to deal with.
Yeah, and people who have created somewhat, hopefully, of a cohesive team, and then people who are like just coming in fresh, where it's like we're working together as a unit, but then we have like 10 new people who are like, we don't know how this is gonna, like, we got to give them the DL and let them know what's going on here,
Yeah, it's definitely a very inviting atmosphere. I think everyone's always happy to have new players and everything, but it is weird at the same time because you'll get used to having certain people around, and then you'll turn and you're like, oh, they're not here. Yeah, got released. Oh, surprise to me. Okay.
Bye.
Yeah, I'm gonna write my paperwork. My bad.
Yeah. But yeah, so you guys are going to be playing pretty much through the Falmouth Road Race weekend, hopefully.
Hopefully. Championship bound.
That should be good. And you guys just play large. The home field is Glove Fuller. Am I saying that correctly?
It's Fuller? Like Gov Fuller, but yeah.
Gov Fuller, yeah. Which is right behind the Senior Center and the Gov Fuller Community Center here down in Falmouth. Not sure of the exact address straight off the dome, but
Feeling like it's 790 Main Street, but, fact check that.
it could be, but yeah, if you just put in Gov Fuller Field.
Yeah, you'll get there.
You'll get there. It's not hard to find. And typically your games are either 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, correct?
Almost always 6 o'clock,
Okay.
but yeah, some other times we'll play at 5 o'clock at opposing fields because they don't have lights sometimes.
We have some good lights at that field, actually.
We really do. We've had games go until like 10 o'clock because,
Wow.
I mean, when we're away and the games go that late, we have to call them early. But here it's like, yeah, play an extra inning, play two, whatever.
I live a little bit down the street, and this is the time of year where I look down the street and I'm like, why is it bright in the middle, like at like 10 or 11 o'clock at night in the wrong direction of the sun?
Yep,
And
that
I'm like,
would be
oh,
us.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, oh, there's a Commodores game. That makes a lot more sense.
Yes, it's weird. Sometimes they last like 2 hours, and then sometimes they're like 3.5 hours. I mean, I absolutely love watching baseball, so it doesn't bother me, but you can tell, like, after 3 hours, the fans are like, all right, you know, I'm seeing myself out.
Yeah, or the people with kids are like, yeah, we're going. Like, this was nice.
Yeah, a lot of our interns and our baseball operations guys, they run clinics in the morning for the community, like, baseball clinics.
Yeah.
So when we have really late games, you can tell they're like, I gotta be up at 7.
They're like, I gotta go to bed.
Yeah, I gotta go to bed right now. But they work really hard. They're always doing statistics and this and that, and then they get right back up in the morning and run a baseball clinic. You know, I have a lot of respect for them because I sleep in sometimes.
Which is kind of nice.
It's very nice.
Not a bad thing. But, okay. Well, I feel like this was a good conversation.
Yeah.
Let's round it out with my little segment that I mentioned at the beginning.
Oh, yes.
You have to name a shoe.
To name a shoe.
Yes.
This is quite difficult.
We're going to do what shoe do you choose to use. So you can mention any shoe that you can mention, like maybe a shoe you're wearing to practice regularly, or like a shoe that lives, some people use a shoe that lives rent-free in their brain. Like maybe you have like a pair of like cleats or like a pair of like walking shoes or running shoes that like you just think about periodically. It's just like,
do I have to know the name of the shoe?
if you can vaguely get to it, I might be able to like discern where you can also look it up on your phone if you'd like.
I'm gonna have to check the
you buy it on Amazon or something, check your Amazon orders.
It's
I've had to do that.
Our team issued shoes from South Carolina, which I know I'm going to get some hate for this. They're Under Armour.
Okay.
Are you a hater?
So Under Armour makes like good shoes. They have not really broken to the running shoe scene in the way that they should be. They have potential. There are places that they could go. Some of their shoes are passably okay. But like for like lifting though, and like gym shoes, they have some really great like lifting and gym shoes. So.
Okay. Normally when I say that I wear Under Armour shoes, I get a lot of hate, and I just wasn't trying to have that.
Oh no. I was wearing Carhu's the other day, which is a Finnish brand. What was I wearing the other day? Oh, me and my friend John were testing out $18 shoes we got off Amazon.
The ones I have on right now are $12 from Amazon, and they're my game day shoes because I figured I could get them as dirty as I needed to, and
for $12.
Yeah, I was like, it's $12. I'll buy another pair every week if I have to.
I was just looking at shoes that look like that, and I was like, oh, I could like those are essentially high heels almost.
They're kind of cute, and I'm short, and like when I'm talking to a baseball player that's like 6'6", I need a little bit of height. So these are, I think, 2-inch platform sneaker kind of. But that's not the shoe I have in mind. So the Under Armour Phantom 4s are my absolute favorite shoe. I'll show you a picture right here.
Okay.
They're cloth and they're kind of clunky, but they're just so comfortable.
They look like a nice like walking around or like just like I'm going to be on my feet for an undetermined amount of time shoe.
Yeah, those were just so comfortable. I think it was the indoor volleyball team that ordered those, and I got a pair, and I put them on, and I was like, these are the most comfortable things I've ever worn. So I wore those like almost every day the entire past year.
Did they wear those just as their like casual like walking around as a team shoe?
Yeah, they were our travel shoe, if you will. So strutting around the airport and such. Yeah, we'd all have those ones on, and they were very, very comfortable. I don't think I ever personally ran in them. I don't know that they did either, but if I had to pick a sneaker that was my favorite, it would probably be that one.
Okay. Do you have a shoe that you're going to be running in if you start half marathon training? Sorry, don't want to overpromise anything.
Very overpowering. Maybe I would have to look into it. I've heard good things about like On Clouds, I think, so maybe I would like invest in like a nicer shoe. I used to wear Nike running shoes.
Okay.
So I don't know if those are a fan fave. You'll have to let me know.
It kind of just depends on what shape your foot is and what you like in a shoe. So if you like a really squishy shoe, there are plenty of shoes out there that are kind of squishy. If you like more of a like a firm shoe that's out there. Those are out there too. Honestly, the thing that kind of determines which brand you should go to is like, just generally speaking, the shape of your shoe. Do you have a high instep? Do you have like a wide toe box? Like, because each shoe is built off a different last, which is like the shape of the foot that they kind of form the top of it around. Yep. So if your foot matches the last that, like, say, Adidas or that On or whatever,
then it normally is like a comfortable shoe for you. Okay.
And a lot of times, honestly, a lot of the bottoms of these shoes are very similar across brands. So you're literally like, the uppers are the thing that really like determines the brand you want to go into, and then within the brand, there's like a version of every single shoe across all the brands.
I'm sure.
They each have their own version of whatever, the max cushion, like the minimum cushion, like the springy bouncy shoe, the kind of like snappy shoe. It exists in every brand.
Yeah, working beach volleyball for so long, that is a shoeless sport.
Yes.
So I've lost my my intelligence in the shoe category, but I'm working it back up.
Okay. I'll give you, when we're done, I can look at your feet and see if there's anything that stands out to me.
Cool. Sounds good.
But that kind of rounds out our conversation. Did you have any way that people can contact you if they have any questions? Should they just go through the Commodores website? Like, what's the best way if anyone has any questions or comments they'd like to make?
Yeah, you can feel free to contact me. I believe my contact info is on the Commodores website. If not, my email is just medical@falmouthcommodores.com. So you can feel free to send any questions, thoughts, anything that way, and I'm more than happy to respond.
Easy enough,
Cool.
And I will put the link to the website down below in the description. So if you guys have any questions or you just want to find out more about the Commodores or check their schedule to see if you want to go to one of their games, that will be in the link down below. So thanks so much, Maddie, for coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, this was great. And friends, if you'd like to get in contact with me, you can hit me up at runnapod@gmail.com. And then I'm over on Instagram @runnapod. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you can become part of your favorite local running community every week with us here on Runnah. And we will see you all on the next episode of Runnah. And I said y'all like I'm almost from the South. I caught myself there. I was like, you all.
Y'all it's a great thing to say. I'm a huge fan.
Yeah. Y'all come back now, you hear?
It's very Southern.
Yeah. Thank you for listening to this episode of Runnah. This podcast is edited, hosted, and produced by me, Juliana Coughlin. Brought to you in part by the Falmouth Running Club and the Falmouth Community TV station. If you'd like to connect with us, you can find us on Instagram and on TikTok @runnapod. And you can send us an email at runnapod@gmail.com. And our original theme music was brought to you by the one and the only wonderful Jeffrey Hutton. And keep up the great work. I'm proud of you.